Reunited after these words from Publishers Clearinghouse.
It is now 14 before 9, and that was only the beginning. As her 12-year-old daughter, Regan, becomes more and more tortured by demons and unrecognizable in every way, Chris McNeil, her actress mother, realizes there's only one thing to do.
Miss McNeil, since the day I joined the Jesuits, I've never met one priest who has performed an exorcism, not one.
Yeah, well, it just so happens that somebody very close to me is probably possessed and needs an exorcism. Father Karras is my little girl.
The Exorcist. It was released in 1973 and became the movie to see. People all over the country waited on lines for up to 5 hours to see this provocative and controversial tale of good versus evil. With us this morning are 5 people who helped create what many consider to be one of the classic horror movies of all times. Linda Blair became famous overnight as the possessed child, Regan. Ellen Burstyn, the superb Oscar and Tony-winning actress, was her mom. In the title role, an actor of international acclaim, Max von Sydow. And also joining us from Los Angeles this morning is Jason Miller, who, as Father Karras, aids in the exorcism and ultimately gives his own life. And last but certainly not least, William Peter Blatty, author of the Exorcist novel and winner of an Oscar for his Exorcist screenplay. And good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
Here in New York and out in Los Angeles. William Peter Blatty, you started this whole thing. I understand, though, and I think a lot of people have heard the story, that it was based on a real story, a documented case of a 14-year-old boy from Maryland who underwent exorcism in 1949. Now, in the movie, of course, we see levitation, we see the head go around and all this. How much was really truthful in the movie?
Well, the film and the novel were inspired by that particular case. It gave me a sense of credibility that I was able to communicate, hopefully, in the novel and the film. But I had to disguise it to protect the identity of the boy, who is still living and is married and has a family. There was levitation in the actual case. The turning of the head was a subject of a great discussion between myself and the director, Billy Friedkin. I tried to explain to Billy that a head cannot turn 360 degrees. It falls off. Supernatural does not mean impossible. But nevertheless, I was wrong. The audience loved it.
Well, Linda Blair here in New York is laughing, but the fact of the matter is you're the one that had to go through all this. I mean, there were some really intense scenes, scary scenes, self-abuse scenes. You were 14 years old at the time. As I understand it, for 6 months or so after the movie opened, the Warner Brothers had to give you guards around the clock, death threats. What kind of effect did that have on you at the time?
I think basically it was obviously an unusual film. It turned my whole life around as far as the influence of the film, because people believed that I had something they related me too much to the character, and that was difficult, and it was a whole new world for me. All of a sudden the doors were open around the world. Everybody knew me, but I did not know them.
But it was great for your career, obviously, but because you can pick up a dozen articles written, 5 dozen articles written in months after, and everyone says a lot of people still feel slightly uneasy when they're around Linda Blair, and they all sound that. They all are along the same line. And did you find that it took a long, long time to get rid of that? People
looked at me very strange in the streets.
Yeah.
People were afraid of me. And now my personality is so easy. People they like to make a lot of jokes. There's not a day goes by that that somebody doesn't say something about it, which is interesting. My life is possessed with the Exorcist.
Really? Your life is. Well, how about your parents, by the way? Were they okay with all this?
Absolutely
they
fine,
were.
Yeah.
And then you had your mom in the movie, Ellen. There were a lot of reactions when this thing opened. People fainted, they reported miscarriages, heart attacks, all these things. I understand that you had a little bit of a personal experience one day in the movie. Can you tell us about that? You were filming Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
I was in Tucson, Arizona, filming Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. and The Exorcist opened in Tucson. So, and it was around my birthday, so I threw a party for the cast and crew of Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and we went to the theater to see The Exorcist. And during the film, at the part where Linda undergoes this test where they put the needle in her neck and all the blood squirts out, which is where the people always fainted in the movie, I saw a lady going up the aisle and kind of wobbling, and I thought, oh boy, she's in trouble. And I got up and followed her, and she got to the top of the ramp of the aisle, and she fainted. And I went over to help her, and I loosened her collar, and I was talking to her, and then her eyes were fluttering. They started to open. I thought, my God, if she wakes up and sees me, she'll think she's entered the Twilight Zone or something and have a heart attack.
Somebody else better help.
I jumped up and I said, quick, somebody else come help this lady.
All right, I want to take a look at another scene of Max and Jason, but let's take a commercial break first, and we'll come back in just a moment with the cast from The Exorcist. We are back now with 5 of the creative forces of The Exorcist. And Jason Miller out in Los Angeles, I would like to ask you, you played the part of a spiritually searching Jesuit priest. It was your first movie role. It was a role, of course, that was very important to the film. I understand you went through a lot of preparation to get ready for this. You want to tell us?
Well, I went down to Georgetown and lived with the Jesuits for about 2 months. Learned how to say Mass, learned how to say confessions. And generally immerse myself in the role. Even though raised a Catholic, it was a very demanding role, and Father Birmingham was very instrumental in teaching me how to be a Jesuit. As a matter of fact, just sitting here, there was a styrofoam cup next to Mr. Blatty and myself, and it just burst into flames. So I suppose, really, it did.
It never ends. We have a
Bill
scene.
just threw some holy water on it, so we're all right.
We do have a scene of you, Jason, along with Max von Sydow, and this is where you are exorcising Regan's demons. Let's take a look at that.
Okay.
The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
I don't know about you, but I get a little goosebumps. Do you? Do you people do that?
Yeah.
Max, these are intense scenes. I mean, all the way through the movie, these intense scenes. Tell us about what it was like making those, like in the room where you were doing this exorcism.
It was a very tough experience in many, many ways, but just the technical aspect of the thing was very complicated, because Billy Friedkin was very precise with many things, with everything. He commanded absolute realism, and he wanted the temperature to be below freezing, so it
like
should
2 below 0, right?
Oh yes, yes. So it should show. The breath should show on the picture.
And you had to work in that.
And we had to work in that. And it was very time-consuming, because every time all the lights were set, it took 20 minutes to refrigerate the set.
And then the cameras
and then the lights went on, and you shot, and very soon the temperatures rose, of course, because of all the lights. So then we had to stop and then take a break while they refrigerated the stage once more, at least 20 minutes.
And I should tell everybody that I understand that the split pea soup scene did take a number of takes, several days of getting the split pea soup on him to get it right.
Well,
it's nice, though, having you all back with us today, and kind of chilling to relive it. But nice seeing you all out in L.A. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back right after this from Alpo.